the Great Western Engine. Duck the Great Western Engine, based on the railway series by the Rev W. Audrey. Illustration by Robin Daves and creative design. This is the story about Duck, the Great Western Engine. When he came to the station, he soon made it clear that he wouldn't put up with any nonsense. But there was one engine that was more than a match for him. One morning, Percy was talking to Gordon and James in the shed. "The Fat Controller is getting a bigger engine to help me," said Percy. "Nonsense," said Gordon. "We don't need a bigger engine. You just need to work more and chatter less," said James. Percy sighed. "No one listens to me. They think silly little engine. I'm a silly little engine and order about. I'll show them." But he didn't know how. Later that day, Percy brought the coaches to the station. Hello, Percy," said the Fat Controller. "You look tired." Yes, sir, said Percy sadly. "I don't know if I'm standing on my wheel, my dome or my wheels." "Cheer up, Percy," laughed the Fat Controller. "The new engine can do the work in Aloud. You can help Lois and Toby build my new harbour." "Oh, thank you, sir," said Percy happily. The next morning, the new engine arrived. He was a Great Western Engine. What's your name?" asked the Fat Controller. "Montague, sir, but everyone calls me Dick because they say I waddle," replied the engine. We don't really, sir, but I like being called Duck." "Duck it is, then," said the Fat Controller. Percy, come and show Duck around." Percy and Duck got on well. Duck knew how to make the trucks behave, and soon they were almost finished. James, Gordon, and Henry watched Duck quietly doing his work. "Let's have some fun," they whispered, and they laughed, and they wheezed, "Quack, quack, quack." Percy was cross, but Duck ignored them. Then the engine began to order him about. "Oh, do they tell you to do things, Percy?" asked Duck. Yes, they do," replied Percy sadly. "Right," said Duck. "We'll soon stop that nonsense." And he whispered something into Percy. "We'll do it tonight." That evening, the Fat Controller was just about to go home for tea when he heard a terrible noise. He hurried to the yard. Henry, Gordon, and James were wheezing loudly. "Stop that noise!" bellowed the Fat Controller. They won't let us on!" hissed Gordon. And the Fat Controller realized that Duck and Percy were sat calmly on the points outside the engine shed, refusing to move. The Fat Controller was very angry. "Duck, explain this behavior," he shouted. "Beg pardon, sir," said Duck politely, "but these engines are giving us orders. Please can you inform them that we only take orders from you? Duck and Percy, who are causing a disturbance," thundered the Fat Controller. "And as for you," he turned to the big engines, "you made the disturbance. Duck is quite right. This is my railway, and I give the orders." Henry, Gordon, and James were very embarrassed. From then on, Duck worked well in the yard, and the Fat Controller was very pleased with him. One day, Duck was resting in the engine shed when the Fat Controller arrived. "Would you like to have a bright light of your own?" he asked. "Yes, please, sir," Duck replied excitedly. and he took charge of his own branch line, which ran along the coast to the small railway. Duck was very proud of his branch line, but he couldn't do all the work himself. So Donald and Douglas took turns to help him. One evening he was talking to Donald. "You don't understand how much the Fat Controller really relies on me," said Duck proudly. I'm a Great Western and..." "Quack, quack, quack," interrupted Donald. "You sound like a lyric." "No, listen in and sleep." "Quack yourself," said Duck. "Quack yourself," said Duck indignantly. The following morning, Duck spoke to his driver. "Donald says I quack as if I laid an egg," he said. "Let's play a joke on him to teach him a lesson." "Oh, I have no idea," laughed the fireman. And he whispered something to Duck and his driver. That night, when Donald was asleep, Duck's driver and fireman put something into Donald's water tank. That morning, when Donald stopped for water, he found an unexpected passenger aboard. A little duckling popped out of his water tank. His driver and fireman couldn't hardly believe their eyes. But Donald smiled. I know who's behind this," he laughed. Donald told him what had happened in the shed. The duckling was tame. She shared the driver and fireman's sandwiches and rode in the tender. But as the day went on, she grew tired of travelling and hopped off at a station where she stayed. Percy's. Before they reached home, Donald and his driver and fireman made a plan. That night they were very busy, and when Duck's crew arrived in the morning, they made a surprise discovery. "Look, Duck," they laughed, "there's a nest with an egg in it on your bunker." Donald opened a sleepy eye. Well, he exclaimed, "you must have laid it in the net." Duck laughed. "You win, Donald. It would take a clever engine to get the better of you." Duck and Donald became good friends, and the duckling settled at the station. She lived in a pond nearby, but she was always flew back to the station to welcome the engine. Donald was her favourite, and she sometimes hopped on a ride the station master called her Dilly. But to everyone else, she was always Donald's duck. Duck Dory was named. When Duck came to the station, he soon made it clear that he wouldn't put up with any nonsense. But there was one engine who was more than a match for him.